All right, for years now, we've been talking to our AI, but what happens when it can finally see? That's what we're digging into today with Amazon Nova. This isn't just another language model, it's a new family of AI designed to understand not just our words, but, well, our world. And check this out. This quote from the source material, it's not just some corporate mission statement. No, this is a real glimpse into the very near future. The whole idea here is to get AI to move past just being a fancy text processor and turn it into something that can actually perceive and interpret the visual world around us. So yeah, this is the big question, right? What happens when AI can see like we do? And look, we're not just talking about it being able to spot a cat in a photo. No, it's way deeper than that. It's about understanding context, seeing the relationships between things, and even understanding motion over time. Okay, so what's the big deal? Why is this such a huge leap? Well, to really get it, you gotta look at where AI is right now. For the longest time, visual data, it was just way too complex, way too expensive to process. That's why most models have been totally text-focused. They can read, sure, but they can't see. And they miss out on all that amazing context you get from layouts, charts, and images. This slide really nails the difference. Think about it like this. The old way, it's like tearing all the words out of a magazine and just reading them in one long, confusing sentence. But Nova's way, it's like actually looking at the magazine page. It gets that, hey, this caption goes with this picture. And this chart over here, it's explaining that point in a text. It sees the world in context, the way it's meant to be seen. So let's dive into the first huge capability this unlocks, really seeing documents. And I don't mean just reading them, I mean understanding them, not as a flat string of words, but as, actual visual things. And this is where things get really wild. You could ask it something like, hey, based on that line graph on page 4, what was the revenue increase? And it's not just going to scan the text for numbers. No way. It will literally look at the graph to figure out the answer. It can even read handwritten notes you scribbled in the margins of a report. How cool is that? And the scale here is just staggering. We're talking about a 1 million token context window. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that is enough processing power to swallow an entire book or a 1,000-page technical manual in one single go. And it's not just reading the words, it's understanding all the text, the tables, and the images all at once. But of course, this brings up a huge, and I mean really important question right away. When you have this much visual power, what about privacy? What are the safeguards? And the answer, thankfully, is super direct. For safety and privacy, Nova is totally blocked from identifying or naming individuals. So it can tell you, hey, there's a person walking a dog, but it will never, ever tell you who that person is. The key thing to remember is that this is all about actions and objects, not personal identities. Period. Okay, so that's static stuff, like documents. But let's take it up a notch. Understanding a single page is one thing, but Nova is also built to understand video, to actually make sense of motion and what happens over time. So there are some ground rules for how this works, which makes sense. If you've got a high-action video, like a sports highlight, you'll want to keep it under 16 minutes to get the best results. But for something with low motion, maybe a security camera feed, it can handle up to an hour. It's smart about it. It samples the frames so it gets the gist of what's happening without getting totally bogged down. And this is a perfect example of how you have to kind of shift your thinking when you're talking to it. You don't ask about a specific millisecond, right? That's not helpful. Instead, you ask about a scene or an event. You tell it, find me every single time a red car shows up in this clip, and boom, it'll give you a summary with the exact timestamps for each one. Okay, so that's the visuals. But what about the audio? A video isn't just pictures, it's sound too. So does Nova handle both? Well, the standard models are actually visual only, but that answer is a perfect segue because it points us right to the most advanced part of this whole system, the core engine that makes all of this magic possible. If you want to understand audio, you need something called multimodal embeddings. This right here, this is the secret sauce. Think about it. How do you get a computer to understand a picture, a video, and a chunk of text all in the same way? Well, you have to build a kind of universal translator for data. And that translator, it has a fancy name, a unified vector space. Now, I know that sounds super technical, but just think of it like a universal language. It's a system that can take a picture of a dog, the word dog, and the sound of a dog barking, and turn them all into similar coordinates on a map.
And because they're all close together on that map, the AI just knows they're all related. It's brilliant.
So what does that let you do? Well, check this out. You can give the system an image, just a photo of a red dress, and it will then search your entire video library and find a video clip of someone wearing a dress that looks just like it. It's not matching keywords like red or dress. Nope, it's matching the actual visual concept across totally different types of media. This embedding engine is what unlocks some truly incredible features. For instance, it can automatically chop up long videos into small, searchable scenes for you. It also gives you deep search, which lets you jump to the exact second something happens. And this is huge. It can combine both the audio and video tracks into one single vector, so it captures the full context of what was seen and what was said at the same time. So, let's step back for a second. Why is this more than just another cool tech feature? Because it completely changes the game for how we interact with our own data. It basically makes the unsearchable searchable. And if there's one thing you take away from this, it should be this. All those hours and hours of video, the stuff on your phone, in your company's archives, from security cameras, all of it suddenly becomes as easy to search as a simple text document. This quote from the source really just says it all, doesn't it? You don't need tags. You don't need to remember file names or the exact date. You just describe what you're looking for, a sunset over the ocean, and the system finds the exact visual moment that matches. And that leaves us with one last kind of mind-blowing question to think about. If your entire visual life, every photo you've ever taken, every video you've ever shot, was all instantly searchable with just a single question, what's the first thing you would ask it?